migrating from trust, which had an 838-year run. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The trust industry, the banking industry, invented 838, 839 years ago, has had a good run. And now we have the truth industry, which is blockchain based, Bitcoin anchored. That's a superior technological advancement that is unlikely to be displaced anytime soon.
In this recent interview on Wolf of All Streets with Mark Yusko, we learn about Bitcoin's price action this Thanksgiving, which is set to be the talk of the table, along with news around Telegram and some ETF details. At the time of this discussion, Bitcoin is trading around $60,000, with a 2% increase in the last 24 hours and 1% increase in the last 7 days. Mark shares his insights on how blockchain is creating a new truth industry, replacing traditional trust mechanisms with transparent, verifiable data. He emphasizes that this functionality is a unique confluence of many events and trends, unlikely to be replicated soon. Yusko also discusses the potential impact of Bitcoin ETFs, drawing parallels to gold ETFs. The interview concludes with his thoughts on the recent Telegram-related arrest. Before we dive into this discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Now let's hear more from Mark Yusko.
It is deemed a commodity. Why does that matter? Because commodities can be and have been controlled by the price, by this futures morass. Because in the old days, if I wanted to sell you a barrel of oil, I actually had to have a barrel of oil that I could get and put on a truck or in a pipe and send to you. But once futures came along, I don't have to have any freaking oil. I can create a barrel of oil out of thin air. I can increase the supply of oil on paper. And as long as we settle the contract before I have to go get some oil and deliver it to, I can mess with the price. And look at gold. Gold's been spoofed for almost a decade now. And same thing in other commodity prices. So we all think we won the war, but be careful of the other side. They're not as dumb as we think they are. I mean, why do we all, humans, believe we are the smartest investors? When there are professional investors, people who do this, their whole life on the other side. And if you're not at least asking the question, if I'm buying this, who's selling it? Because I always love, there are excess buyers in the market today. No, there's not. There's an equal number of buyers and sellers every single day. Every day. And so if you're selling, someone's buying. If you're buying, someone's selling. So think, at least for a minute, what does that person or persons know that I don't? Now, if you're doing what I suggest with Bitcoin, which is just buy it, right? Hashtag just buy it. I don't mean buy it all at once. I mean, buy some today, buy some tomorrow, buy some next week, buy some the week after, buy some next month, and just accumulate your position over time in the most valuable network the world has ever seen. And I actually will stand by this statement, at least as far as I can see in my lifetime. I think it's unlikely that we'll ever see a more valuable computing network in my lifetime. Now, I hope to live a nice long life, but this is a confluence of many events, technological trends, human trends, monetary trends, and this unique functionality isn't going to be replicated in the near term, and it's not going to be displaced in the near term.
As we just heard Mark Yusko discuss Bitcoin's current position and the transformative power of blockchain, now let's hear him elaborate on the unique confluence of events driving the crypto market. Yusko emphasizes how blockchain technology is creating a new truth industry, fundamentally changing how we approach trust in financial systems. He draws interesting parallels between the potential impact of Bitcoin ETFs and the historical influence of gold ETFs on their respective markets. This comparison offers valuable insights into what we might expect in the near future. Now, let's listen to what Mark Yusko has to say on Wolf of All Streets about these developments and their implications for investors.
If you look at gold, when the gold ETF came out, It took 9 months before gold got back to the price it was before the ETF was launched. And everyone's like, whoa, what happened? Think about it. The reason the gold ETF was created was because JP Morgan was actually short 2 times the world's gold. Just let that sink in. You're like, how do you know that? I'm like, because a friend of mine who runs a giant hedge fund actually went through the 400 pages, not 400 boxes, 400 boxes of documents that were posted on the internet after the global financial crisis when they got bailed out. So long story short, they were short all this gold. And so they delayed the release of GLD for 3 years, 3 years. And then finally said, okay, now we're short. So now you can have the patsy longs come in and take the other side of our shorts. And so they spoofed that price for 9 months. Because what happens is, remember, the futures price is higher than the spot price because we're optimistic humans. And when that spread is really high, there's a huge windfall to short the future and buy the spot.
Free money.
But as more people do it, the spread closes. And when the spread hits the cost of financing, game over. So if you are not terrified, of this, you're not paying attention. Scott, this is so scary and so frightening. And look, we could say the same thing about Ross. I mean, about the 2 programmers for Tornado Cash. I mean,
this is worse.
This is worse. This is crazy. I saw the great thing about, keeping it with the French, right, is here's a warrant for the maker of Bic pens. Because people have written out bad, they've written out deals for drugs and assassinations and all kinds of, and with Bic pens. And they've made comments that offend people. Look, we are going down a very dystopian, communist, actually worse than communism world. And it's horrific. And we don't have time to go into why it's happening and who's behind it and all this good stuff. But if you look around at Canada and France and the US, it's these places that are complicit. They have puppet leaders, weak, dumb people in positions of power who let the powers that be create this Gestapo state. And I intentionally choose that term where, think about it. In the UK, same thing. Okay. He's a nice enough
jail
guy,
for a meme. He
was installed. Yeah. You can retweet something and get arrested, but I want to poke fun and say they're just jealous that the guy's perfect, right? He's sculpted, he's rich, he's handsome. But that ain't it. He's dangerous because he created a platform and stood by the moral stance that, no, I will not give you a backdoor.
To watch the full interview, check out the link in the description. Mark Yusko provides a compelling perspective on Bitcoin's price action this Thanksgiving, the revolutionary impact of blockchain on trust mechanisms, and the potential market shifts with the introduction of Bitcoin ETFs. He also touches on the recent Telegram-related arrest, highlighting the ongoing interplay between innovation and regulation in the crypto space. We would love to hear your thoughts on some questions. How do you think the truth industry created by blockchain will reshape financial trust in the coming years? And what potential impacts do you foresee from Bitcoin ETFs based on the gold ETF comparison? Thank you for tuning in to Only the Savvy. If you enjoyed this discussion, please subscribe, like, and share our video for more engaging content diving into the innovative world of decentralized technologies.